Your Majesty. Your Majesty and honorable guests, I would like to introduce our next speaker. This is His Royal Majesty, King Taka IV, Chairman of the African Kingdoms Federation, Crown Council of Kings of the Federation of the Royal Parliaments. And here he is, our next spotlight speaker.
Good. Thanks, Gary. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you great, and you look amazing. I need to know, how do I get that? How do I get one of those?
Thank you. I will let you know. All right. I would like to first of all craft the indulgence of all the participants to express my gratitude first to Gary and Chief Timothy, whom I have followed them all these days, manage these sessions very perfectly, very enthusiastically, and in a very motivational way. So I want to first of all express that gratitude to both of you.
Thank you.
As program directors, Imperial Majesty, the Queen of Sheba, in my normal way to salute all the audience first. Your Majesties and Chiefs, Your Excellencies, parliamentarians, ambassadors, representatives of diplomatic corps, queens, princesses, princes, honorable participants, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's not my first time to speak in this summit. So once more, I appreciate this opportunity provided to the kingdoms to provide their closing remark, and most importantly, the establishment of the African Kingdoms Federation Crown Council of Kings of the Federation Royal Parliament. This is in line with the Global Peace Summit of 2020, which I kept mentioning, and a path towards restoring dignity to African kingdoms. All kingdoms in Africa need to come on board as a united front, taking their rightful place in the development and peace crusade badly needed by the African continent. For the past 4 days, I have listened with keen interest, great inspirational speeches, presentations, and debates, and I wish to thank all participants who made it possible for this wonderful summit to hold, and I wish that from today, the very rich speeches and presentations be put into practice. We should use them as a blueprint for groundwork, and as popularly declared by President Barack Obama, yes, we can. And that is how we can show our support to Her Imperial Majesty Queen Sheba and to humanity. We will notice that Africa has thousands of chiefdoms, fiefdoms, and kingdoms that have developed from the original royal bloodline over the years. But an absolute majority of these traditional leaders are absent from this great summit, most probably because of various reasons, amongst which may include lack of information, lack of technological ability, given the Zoom nature of the summit, lack of funds to enable attendance, and time differences, just to mention a few. As the Crown Council of Kings, please take it as a mission to advocate and empower all kingdoms to join the Federation, so together we can reset African kingdoms to restore its power, wealth, and dignity. The kings will need ambassadors, Your Majesty, the Queen of Sheba, of this mission to facilitate communication to ensure every single kingdom is brought on board. Coming from the vast Benin clan in the northwest region of Cameroon, in West Africa, with a number of kingdoms, I have experienced firsthand why some of the kings cannot connect and join us today. The reasons fall squarely within the aforementioned reasons, but we have to ensure that we break those limits to a greater extent in due course, and I am asking you to forward to me on my number, if that is possible, +27 840 363 853, or my email, moapales@gmail.com, or alternatively, direct all royals to register on the Federation website. If you have a pen, I'll read it to you. HTTPS www.african.royalkingdoms.com. If you register there, then we will be able to work together inside the Federation and much more. We need to redesign or at least adopt policies and procedures under a constitution that sets the path to the emergence, funding, security, and development of our kingdoms. Every African comes from one kingdom or the other. Therefore, it is a mission we cannot afford to fail the existing and future generations. The time is now, and it is one of the missions of this Reset Summit. Like King Taka said, we will be visiting Ghana to see how the kingdom there are being set up under his leadership. The question of how can we restore African dignity must start with silencing the guns, establishing networks that stop the putting of guns into the hands of the wrong persons, return of power to the kingdoms, the rise of the South-South kingdoms. The reset is our opportunity, coming with the first digital currency and ID card as articulated by the Vice Prime Minister for the African diaspora. The diaspora is one of the key pillars with the capacity to restore the dignity of the continent. The 4IR, as the Foreign Industrial Revolution, is an icebreaker, as research has found that services industry and innovation are benefiting and will continue to benefit from 4IR, and it is within this context that training should be intensified to develop skills for the new down for the kingdoms and benefit from the reset. To achieve development, the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 on women, peace and security, and 2535 on cessation of hostilities in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic should be implemented. We should actually advocate for that to be implemented immediately. It is necessary for this summit to develop a humanitarian resolution calling on all parties in conflict zones to respect human life and dignity and protect the civilian population. I can cite the case of the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, who now refer to themselves as Southern Cameroons or Ambazonia, and fighting to create an independent state, citing injustice from the policies of the central government. The reported death toll since 2019 exceeds 15,000 deaths, amongst which include women, children, freedom fighters, and government soldiers. And populations displacement exceeds 1.5 million persons, according to UN figures. And a mounting number of refugees now living in pain in neighboring countries. In part of Africa, more than 1 million kids have not been able to attend schooling since 2019, and it is necessary for the African Union and the NGOs to take proactive steps to engage the warring parties to project justice and end hostilities to enable and end the hardship on the vulnerable population. This situation is common in other parts of the African continent, and this presents a great hindrance to the realization of the goals of this maiden Reset Ed Summit. The world and Africa in particular should unite and silence the guns continent-wide if human rights must prevail and if development will be achieved. We cannot achieve development in areas of war and injustice, and the effects is that any part of Africa that is at war directly affects the progress and development of the entire continent. It is based on this that the Federation of African Kingdoms should lead the way in re-establishing African justice, demolishing cultural boundaries in Africa, and fostering for a united Africa, which I believe will become a solution for most of Africa's problems emerging from politics. Today coincides with the historic 75th United Nations General Assembly debate, in which hundreds of war leaders, diplomats, and advocates are taking part with key objectives to tackle unprecedented global challenges. The theme for this session is the future we want. The United Nations we need, reaffirming our collective commitment to multilateralism, confronting COVID-19 through effective multilateral action. As one human race, as well defined by her impress, is basically the foundation on which the human race was created upon and somehow disrupted by acts of slave trade, racism, or other similar crimes that undermine our collective effort, unity, peace, and prosperity as humans. The UN has held countless conferences and adopted many resolutions against these crimes, but it is time to use the reset to totally reverse effects of these crimes on humanity, especially in Africa, as a means to achieve the mission of this Earth Summit, and kingdoms have a huge role to play going forward. Within this context, the question of reparation should be encouraged, and the rest of the world that have been found wanting in human abuses over the centuries prior to today should accept wrongdoing and design legislative regimes that compensate Africa as a sign of remorse, as a path to justice, and as a call to the ancestors to reset and rest in peace. The summit can sponsor such a resolution because there is always justice before lasting peace and sustainable development. The question of land all over Africa should become central in kingdoms and nations, and land should be put back in the hands of the indigenous by ensuring that resources of each kingdom and nation benefit indigenous people, and that their products and commodities can robustly trade internationally in line with one of the objectives of the African diaspora governing agenda. Your Imperial Majesty, the Queen of Sheba, the mother throne on which the rest of the kingdoms under the Nubian nation was built and still building, I want to appreciate your wisdom and commitment to the restoration of the pride of the kingdoms, the emergence of the lost kingdoms, and the growth of humanity. I once more commit to working collaboratively to see that this mission is achieved for the greater benefit of the human race, and accept blessings from the kingdoms of the Being clan, who are hopeful that in no too distant future, the entire clan will begin experiencing growth traceable to this global reset and from the Federation of African Kingdoms. Also accept fraternal greetings from His Royal Majesty, the Paramount King of the vast Being clan and cabinet. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening attentively. Long live the Queen of Sheba. Long live the Federation of African Kingdoms. Long live Africa. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you so much, my dear King Taka. My magnificent king, thank you so much, our chairman of the Crown Council of Kings. I cannot agree with you more. I cannot agree with you more. We do need the kingdoms coming together. I will see this very night that there is a special page where they can sign in following your recommendations as chairman. I think we should have another summit soon, or you should be in that summit soon, to bring the kingdoms together when it is possible, and then they can expand on that so we can elaborate on what has been said here. I think it's also very important the mention of the importance of the sixth economic region and the importance of the state of the African diaspora on this initiative, the importance of the collective kingdoms, because that together form a strength in order to support every and all of the agenda and the organizations within Africa working towards the same purpose. I think it's also very important that we remember the Lumi that is today put in place as this throne and the throne's currency to see facilitated the help needed by the kingdoms. So therefore, it's already important to get the kingdoms together in order that we can further discuss and implement this. So that should be the next summit. I will have it arranged with the Excellency, the Prime Minister, and the Vice Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance. But not this week, because this week we will be busy putting everything in place, because from October 1st, we'll start that distribution of the funds needed towards this agenda of seeing that each of the Africans within Africa have that stimulus of $100, but it's meaning a lot to the people there, and as you well know. So thank you so much. I think it's very important that, especially that part of the meeting, the video of that be sent to the kingdom so we can start moving as soon as possible and building an all. And as well, important, the resolution to stop the issues that are facing 15,000 people killed and all of that is unacceptable. I'm aware of what is happening there. But we can only change a lot of the problems in Africa is because of economics, corruption, and misuse of funds. So if we now have our own economic infrastructure to start changing a lot of these things, we will change it, and we shall. So thank you so much for your input, Our Dear Majesty. And my regards to Her Majesty the Queen, Genevieve.
Thank you. Thank you. She's listening to you.
Your Majesty, my regards to you, Queen Genevieve. You are missed. Okay, so we shall go on to our next royal.
Yeah. Thank you, Your Highness.